Welcome back, everyone, to Lore with Ludus Infinium. For the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be taking a break in between doing the Legion videos, which I just finished, and the Primarch videos. And instead, I will be ranking the Legions from my least favorite to my favorite, starting with the Loyal Legions, then the Traitor Legions, then all 18 Legions. So, sit back, relax, and let's enjoy and have a little bit of controversial opinions. Coming in at number 9, the Ultramarines, because they are the worst. They are the absolute fucking worst. So, I did this to where I can at least say at least one good thing about the different legions and compare them to the many bad things. For the good thing that I have for the Ultramarines, it is a true positive. They do have a cool take on being a jack of all trades legion. They are probably the closest legion to be able to do, well, really anything they want to, from being like the Luna Wolves and doing a direct assault to siegecraft. They're not as good as the Luna Wolves or the Imperial Fists or Iron Warriors, or even when it comes to hit and run tactics, the Raven Guard or the White Scars, but they do it all reasonably well. So that is something I feel like that does make them actually kind of cool. However, this is going to hurt a little. And the first one is kind of petty. I think they're just way overdone. There's way too much exposure on the Ultramarines, and that is taking away from other legions that could have cool stories. See, for instance, the Raven Guard, the White Scars. Hell, I'd even take more Blood Angel stuff over Ultramarines at this point. But if that's not the most unsufferable part about them, let's talk about the plot armor. The plot armor, from just the sheer amount of plot armor, if it were a physical armor, could be taken off of the Ultramarine Legions and be used to create a flotilla of ships for a 30k era expeditionary fleet. Or 20. That's how much plot armor they have, and it makes them completely insufferable. In addition to the fact that they get the most focus. And I get it, they are the poster boys, and that is their right to be, hey, we're out in the open, that's good, but damn did they have to make them awful. Number 8, the Space Wolves. So, to give the Space Wolves a little bit of credit, they do have a very cool iconography and motif that resembles our timeline's version of Vikings. So that is actually pretty cool. That's about where it ends. Let's talk about why I hate the Space Wolves, because this is one that I do catch a little bit of flack for, but you know what? This is one where I don't like them, and it's not a secret that I don't like them, and I openly hate them. It's not because I like Thousand Suns or anything like that. It's just I think they are very one-dimensional. They see themselves as the Emperor's executioners, and that they are the most loyal of doggos. And the fact remains is, if Leman Russ had not been tricked by Horus and wasn't the gullible piece of shit that he is, then it could have theoretically been 8 traitor legions against 10 loyal legions, because the Thousand Sons probably would have remained loyal. In fact, Azek Ahriman had said that the Thousand Sons would always be loyal, which, times change, that is true, but it's a very interesting, theoretical, to be fair, road to go down. Now, to kind of play on this one, they are really, really easy to deceive. They have been fooled a lot. In fact, the only Primarch in Legion who I think can honestly take the cake on being deceived over the Space Wolves is fucking Lionel Johnson, who got tricked by Perturabo, of all people. So, at least, Lehman Russ got tricked by Horus and not by fucking Bravo. But, so, other than that, they have this overblown, self-righteous sense of honor where we are the good guys. Fuck everyone else. And this even goes to other Imperial groups. And I think that this could be cool if it were done right. I just feel like with the Space Wolves, it's done to an outlandishly hilarious level. And let's talk about the other bad stuff they do. I really can't get over the fact that they piss on the carpet every chance they get. And then when they do meet another Space Marine Legion or chapter at this point, that the first thing they like to do is just walk right up to them and sniff their assholes. I can't get past that. I can't. I don't know. I can't think of anyone who could, but I'm sorry. It's just kind of a deal breaker for me. Number 7. The Dark Angels, the First Legion. So, this actually was a strange one for me. So, when I did this, I ranged all of the legions of a level of whether I like them, I'm ambivalent towards them, or I just flat out don't like them. Dark Angels fall between dislike and ambivalent. For the most part, I am ambivalent, except for a couple of things that just make me outright not like them. So, this is why they're in 7 and not 8. Because I don't outright hate them, like I do the Space Wolves, and to be fair, the Ultramarines. But I'm not completely ambivalent to them as I am, say, the Raven Guard or, other legions along those lines where there's either just not enough lore to get into them or they're just not that interesting to me. But that being said, something really that I think is cool about them is they overcame being on a planet that was riddled with chaos corruption to actually become one of the more loyal legions. Well, half of them did anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's a really cool merit of honor. However, I do want to say this again, because I made fun of it with the Space Wolves. These have got to be some of the most gullible Legionnaires in Primarch that I have ever seen. And I really do need to say that I'm kind of surprised that they don't have a fucking CNI dog or the 40k equivalent, whatever that would be. A seeing eye servitor. Due to the continued blindness, just sheer blindness of their own self-righteous... Well, I guess if your head is stuck that far up your ass, all you're going to see is your colon. So, okay, fine. I guess that's why they can't see. But they're just so very self-absorbed and the most egotistical of the loyal legions. And that's saying a lot. And what I really don't like about them is because this is actually something on the lines of the Space Wolves, where I think, that overblown, puffed up chest sense of honor that they have, if done right, could be done really well. So with the Dark Angels, in their case, they will actively kill loyal groups to the Imperium, as well as traitors and heretics and all that, just to keep their secrets. I think if that were done well, they could actually be closer to the top. But it's not done well, because it's done in a sense of not, we must... It's not like done like early days Blood Angel Bloodthirst or Red Thirst. It's more of like, it's like, they can't find out our dark secret. We must protect our brothers. It's like, we can't let these fuckers know what we're up to. It's done completely on this self-righteous attitude of, we know better, so we get to kill. So, as far as that, Dark Angels come pretty well on my list. Number 6. The Raven Guard. Now, this is where I start to pull away from just outright disliking them to a more ambivalent state, where it really is more of, I wish there was either more lore, or I feel like the pros and cons kind of balance themselves out. And so this is actually going to be something that you're going to see in the Traitor Legion soon. Everyone's going to know what I'm talking about. One of the things that is both a pro and a con for this legion is their ungodly level of sneakiness. It is hilarious in some instances, but it is so overdone that it's kind of. I mean, I get it. It's what they specialize in, but it's also just. I wish there was something else they could do really well, just to kind of balance it out. Now, that is kind of a combination pro and con. It is a really cool thing with some of their levels of sneakiness. Like, there have been stories of them actually being in wait in a capital with a joint attack with the Lunar Wolves, and when they would start the attack and get the signal, then they would just jump out of the capital and kill all the head people. It's like, okay, we're already here. Hey. So, in that sense, it's more funny than non-believable, but then there's shit that's just outlandish. Like, supposedly, Corvus Corax can sneak around other Primarchs and no one will see him. No one. Not other Astartes. Well, I mean, them too. But Primarchs. So, And this is also going to be when I rate him personally, but I do think that he has a massive masochistic complex after his Legion gets destroyed. And I'm not saying it's not justified, but to the point of where my Legion's already dying. I'll just fucking finish them off. So, that I'm not judging on the Legion itself, just something I kind of want to go on a tangent on. But another pro of them, this is something I did like, as poorly done as the Primaris were. The Raptors, which could theoretically be pre-Primaris Space Marines, was done really well. And I rather enjoyed that story. I don't think everyone will enjoy it because of its possible connection to the Primaris, but it was done really well. It was done by a Primarch. Now, granted, the apothecary who did it had only like fucking 15 years in the Legion, so then, okay, but guided by a Primarch, I could kind of see it. And it's really kind of cool because it's, in this case, it seems more feasible than random tech priest with like multiple different backstories at the same time because reasons. Anyway, don't really want to get down that rabbit hole. Now, the other negative thing I can really say about them, and I hate saying this because, like I said, with the Primaris, with the Raptors, it was kind of a cool concept, but overall, they're just kind of easy to forget. There's not that much about them, and what there is about them is just like kind of sporadic. And I think it does the Legion as a whole a massive disservice. Number 5. We are halfway there, folks. The Iron Hands. Now, the Iron Hands. This actually, now, for those of you who don't know, in my actual life, you know, I grew up around computers, and I've been working on computers for the better part of 25 years now, 26 years, something like that. So I've literally been doing it all my life, and well, at least since I was 4. So I think the idea of the Iron Hands is really cool with their almost fetish of bionics. It, stemming from a misunderstanding from the Primarch's desire. I think that is something that's done really well. And I also think it's really interesting with their relationship with the Mechanicum. And again, my love of all things computers, you know, the way I see that relationship between the Iron Hands and Mechanicum and their love of all things tech is really kind of fascinating to me. I do think it's really kind of cool. Unfortunately, similar to the Raven Guard, they're kind of easy to forget. And I think it really does have to do... There are 3 legions where I think this is true, and I think I know why. It's because they're the Shattered Legions. It's the Iron Hand, Salamanders, and Raven Guard, because they got nearly destroyed in Spawn 5. And that might be why, but it's just like, other than their fetishistic love of bionics and tech, I couldn't really think of much else to say about them as a Legion, not including the Prime. And it kind of, I hate saying it, makes them kind of boring. But not boring to the point where I hate them. It's like, I like the idea, I do, but I wish there was more meat to them. There's just not. Number 4. The Imperial Fists. This one kind of surprised me, honestly. I thought they would be lower on the list. But, you know what? After doing the Legion videos and looking back on them and seeing how my view on all the at least the Loyal Legions has changed, I can honestly say they are kind of cool. And what I think is this is a case of where the specific job of the Legion, for instance, the Raven Guard's sneakiness, though it can be overblown, it's something that was done right, but then gone way past right and just went too far. I think that the Imperial Fist, being like the ultimate defensive Legion, was done perfect. And I think they do that really well. And this is honestly one of the things of where I can say, out of all the Loyal Legions, to get to what they are specifically, I think, honestly, out of all of them, the Imperial Fists Legion is the only one that gets it dead on. And they are 4th on my list. So with the others, you know, I with the 3 above it, I can accept the fact that they don't do what they're supposed to do as good as the Imperial Fists. But I do like other aspects of them, other than just the fact of that's their job as a Legion. And the other positive thing of the Imperial Fist that I can say is the multi-leveled telescopic rods shoved up their asses, which, though it makes them die, but though it makes them dry, does create moments of humor from time to time, and that humor is just beautiful. A good example of this is kind of how Rogel Dorn himself looks at Euphrates Keeler in the 4th book of the Horus Heresy series, Flight of the Eisenstein, when she goes to try and stop him and ends up succeeding. And the funny thing is, he's so confused. I'm like, what are you doing here, human? I mean, he doesn't really say it like that, but it's kind of the attitude he gives off, and it's really kind of funny. Because he doesn't see Astartes above him, much less humans. And here she is, like, actually calming him down. And they have this near... they're blunt, but they're also very... what's the word I'm looking for here? Not to the point. They're very literal. And it's really funny in some cases. But, and now we get into the negatives. That can get old at times. It can get real old at times. And outside of some of their successor chapters, they really don't seem to get enough love or attention from GW, making it easier to look at Legions that do get more. Like the Blood Angels actually get a little bit, or the Blueberries. The Blueberries get way too much. Blueberries need less lore. Take off like half of the Blueberry lore and just split it among the other 8 Loyal Legions evenly. And I would probably be happy. Actually, take off fucking like 80% of the Ultramarines lore and split it among the other 8 Legions evenly, and I'll probably be happy. And now we get into the top 3. Number 3. The Salamanders Legion. So let's talk about the Salamanders. I'm also going to have to talk about another content creator, and it's not a negative thing, it's just, I mean this in no way disrespectful, but starting off with one of the positives, this is the Legion of the memeable Hug God. And as much as I've grown to not enjoy Brava Alpha Boosta's text-to-speech device, I used to, but the more I started digging into the lore, I started picking it apart, and it's really hard for me to watch it and enjoy it the way I used to without picking apart bits and pieces of the lore. And I don't want to do Bravo Alpha Boosa a disservice by watching it with an already negative disposition. I believe that it is funny, and I believe that of all the 40k stuff, it's actually a really good, funny take on it. It's just, for me, it's hard for me to watch it because of the constant research I do. I just end up picking it apart. But I fully recommend checking out Text to Speech. Again, it's hilarious. But that aside, I love how it. One thing I will say is I love how it portrays Vulcan being the memeable hug god, and his legion is not very far off. Let's be really crystal clear here. And this comes from, again, another positive, is they are probably the only legion that cares about civilians that much. They have done last stands to keep civilians safe, which I'm going to get into that in the negative thing, because I think that gets blown out of proportion really hard. But it's something kind of cool for them to do very well. And like I said, I don't think it's done perfectly like the Imperial Fists defensive legion, but I do think their love of civilians is done really well. Now, through my research, I could not find an instance of the Legion ever being disheartened or kind of losing faith due to their really, honestly, horrible circumstances, whether it be their low numbers or their lost Primarch. They just pick up, carry on, like, we're going to do this, and we're going to protect the little pink humans. And they do. And that's actually kind of cool. They're like, well, when Vulcan returns, it'll be good. But while he's not here, we gotta handle our business, and I like that. Okay, let's talk about the negatives. Outside of Vulcan being the chaos god of hugs, and the Legion's love of all things fires, again, and I think this has a lot to do with the Shattered Legions thing. Kind of easy to look over sometimes, and I think that's a massive disservice to them, because I think if you put a lot more focus on, like, them going to save a planet or a city or what have you, that would be a great opportunity to really pop the Salamanders out of just being in the background. And that would be a good way to take focus off the Ultramarines and put it on someone else. I mean, come on, it's the damn Ultramarines. We need less Ultramarines and more of everyone else. And now I kind of mentioned this earlier. When they do get to defending civilians, or there were parts before Vulcan was found, they had near suicidal tendencies throughout the lore. And it felt a bit out of place. Granted, this is replaced with their purpose nature of protecting the squishy civilians that feels kind of odd, honestly, for a Legion, but they do that very well. It's just before that, they go from being completely, we will stand to the last man, to we will protect all these humans with our lives. And it's kind of an interesting transition, but the transition itself is just a little strange to me. Number 2, the Blood Angels Legion. So this is one that I actually expected to be a lot lower on the list, and I ended up putting them at number 2 after doing lore on them. And you know what? I'm kind of glad I did. So for people that don't know, my love of all things, whether it be an anime, it be a TV show, or whatever, my favorite story is either the redeemed villain or the redeemable hero. The person who has done something horrible or has a very bad history, and they end up rising above it. And this is the Blood Angels Legion. They have a very dark history, and they rise above it every chance they get. And that is amazing to me. And I will say this, out of all the loyal legions, they are the ones that epitomize the word nobility. I don't care what you say about the Imperial Fists. I don't care what you say about the Ultramarines. There is no loyal legion more noble than the Blood Angels. And I think that is what they do well. And I don't think they do it perfectly. And they are not meant to do it perfectly. And I love that about them. And something that I thought was really, really cool was they would take mutants and turn them into, really, they were considered some of the most beautiful of Astartes in 30K. And I think that that is absolutely fascinating. Which leads me into the first negative point. They really do seem like a really warped cross between a loyal Emperor's Children and World Eater's Legion. They always try to be beautiful and perfect, but they are merciless in melee combat. And this is not made down. And I like the World Eaters and the Emperor's Children. I really do. I like them better than most of the loyal legions. I'll say it that way. But I do think that with the Blood Angels, they do what they do well, but there are some parallels that are kind of a little bit too easy to make to Emperor's Children and World Eaters. And I don't really like that. I think that they would have been better off being a little bit more unique and individualistic in that sense, as opposed to being like, oh, hey, look, they're beautiful, like the Emperor's Children, until they go crazy, and then they're World Eaters. Cool. And here's something I really, really did not like in their lore. After the Siege of Terra, after the death of Sanguinius, they were thrown into really despair. And I hate the way that Gilliman just outright cucks the Blood Angels into following the Codex Astartes. Because I really did see it that way. I think he played on their grief and like, you should agree with me, it will keep the peace. And I'm sorry, I didn't like it. And I think they rolled over too easy on the Codex Astartes. I do. Did it turn out for the better or worse? Honestly, I can't make that call. I would have to do a lot more research on the Codex Astartes and, possible what would happen if it not been a thing. But realistically, I think that the Blood Angels' just acceptance of the Codex Astartes was just a net negative for me. I think that realistically, Sanguinius, possibly to keep the peace, would have gone with it, but I think he would have had issues with it. And I would have liked to have seen that played out through some of the higher-ups in the Blood Angels, but I didn't find it. Now, if that's the case, I would be more than happy to admit I was wrong, but I didn't find it, and I don't like that. And finally, our number one loyal legion. This one surprised the hell out of me, and for those of you who figured it out already, and maybe those of you who didn't, we are talking about the White Scars Legion. This is not one I was expecting to be in my number one place. They would have been in the middle, more my ambivalent, just because I didn't know that much about them. After doing the research on them, they are my favorite. And this comes from, I really love the aspect of they always distance themselves from other Imperial forces, and that gave them a very unique mentality towards the Imperium and its subjects. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And we were talking about this with the Salamanders, with their memeable love of all things hugging. White Scars are the red ones go fast to humans. They are the speed cult of the Astartes. I mean, they are. They have a near orc-like mentality when it comes to speed, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I want to find, and if I can't find, and I eventually can, I want to commission artwork for a White Scar dreadnought that does not have treads, does not have legs, but is on a rocket sled, because you know that's exactly what they would do, and you gotta love it. And so, the next thing I really like about them, and I love this from a lore perspective, but also this is something else I kind of like in a storytelling perspective, I enjoy their explorer and adventurer mannerisms. How they're always on the look for the next adventure. That's really cool, and they really do that kind of well. But we talked about, kind of the legions being able to do something really well or doing it poorly, and I think they do this beautifully. Not perfect, but beautifully. And then the last positive thing I have to say about them, and I kind of love this, is they are, for all intents and purposes, the true definition of the term, and I hate this term, the noble savage. And I'm going to defend this. They are probably one of the most savage of the Loyal Legions, competing possibly with the Space Wolves in the way they deal with their enemies. But they are a very noble legion at the same time. And that is a very, very beautiful thing. And I love how the White Scars pull it off. And this might be me simping for the White Scars, so fucking be it. But I think that they pull all the stops out. Well, no, they don't pull out any fucking stops now I think about it. They pull out all the gas pedals very well when it comes to having that look of being very noble, but at the same time knowing you should not screw with them if you want to continue living, unless you want to die in a very horrible manner. So, like all of the legions, let's discuss the negative things about them. Quite frankly, there's just not enough lore for them. I really wish there was more lore for the White Scars. I hated it, because out of all the legions, I think it was them and possibly the Raven Guard that had the least amount, and that made me so upset, because I wanted more. I can honestly say, out of all the legions, only one really had me wanting to go back for more, and that was the White Scars. And the other negative thing I can really say about them is, even though they do the hit and run guerrilla tactic very well, I wish they were more than just that. And this plays on the near orc-like love for speed, but I do wish they were more than just that. But at least they do it very well. It would be cool to see them, like I said, with the whole Dreadnought out, team up with the Mechanicum and figure out ways to make a Dreadnought on a rocket sled, or to make mobile weapons platforms that go on, the jet bikes, but it's like a heavy bolter or a las cannon. Something that would be completely outlandish at this point would be fine with me, just as long as it's not fucking Ultramarines. And yes, I'm going to beat that dead horse for a little while. But that would be really cool to see. Just see how they could adapt themselves to tactics they don't normally use. Like, for instance, using dreadnoughts, using more heavy weapons. Hell, I would laugh hysterically to see, I believe it's called a Hellfire Dreadnought. The Dreadnought that doesn't have arms but has missile pods. Seeing one of those on a rocket sled and them using it for artillery. That would be... It would be a little special, but it would be funny as hell. And it would be the ultimate White Scars thing to do. And I would love every second of it. I would probably laugh. I'd be like, not everyone would do this, but they fucking would. And I can't gush over that whole idea enough, because the more I think about it, actually, the more I'm honestly smiling right now just thinking of a Hellfire Dreadnought on a rocket sled going, rocket go, it makes me laugh. It really does. So that is my top pick, is the White Scars. And I hope you all enjoyed my very first ranking of the Loyal Legions of 30k. And I hope you look forward to the Traitor Legions that will be done next week. This has been Ludus Infinium, and if you enjoyed, do all the stuff YouTube wants, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. Actually, I would love for y'all to leave a comment. I would love to see a live discussion on what your favorite legions are, or if you think I got something wrong, or have something for me to look at to show where I got something wrong, I would absolutely love to see that. But for and I did not know this, over 400th time, and I was going to do a video special, but I want to mention this. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!